Alright folks, how we doing? It's Shabash and welcome back to the channel. It's Orna again. We're doing another endgame class showcase today, this time with the Realmshifter. It's the highest attack class in the game, so I'm pretty excited to show you what it can do. So let's light a fire under this and get started with some world farming, which is one of the things Realmshifter Swashbuckler is exceptional at. Realmshifter Swashbuckler is one of the few builds in the game that actually makes endgame world farming rewarding as well as exciting. Alright, so checking out our world farming gear, we've obviously going with the Venin and the Arisen Monster Tombs for maximum experience gain. We're also using a Polished Mirror for maximum mana. That's really going to reduce our downtime between fights. And like all Swash builds, for your armor slots there's actually quite a lot of options. Today I'm going for a decent balance of attack with Pinioned Boots and Pinioned Old Northern Crown. And I've also got a broken Court Jester's outfit to give me some extra orns. To show you the attack, we're rocking 5,278 attack. So anything above 5,000 attack is really going to make mincemeat out of the world farm. Okay, so we just popped a Chaos Scroll. Hopefully we'll get some Berserk mobs. We'll showcase what we can do. So let's work away. And almost everything is going to be able to die to a mix of Tri-Cut 1 and 2 and Swordplay for any mobs that have high health, and especially Berserk mobs at tier 10. But you can see for medium health mobs up around 20k, we're doing 30k damage with Tri-Cut 1, which is really insane. So we're making use of Realmshifter Resurgent skill, where we have maximum damage at minimum health. So we've got 1 health. So rocking around with 1 health, we can kill absolutely everything. Use Double Edge to get down to 1 health, or you can just let something kill you. There we go, 45 mil from Heimdall, very nice. Tier 9 mobs, they're not going to last at all. And we've got Great Gazer. I've actually got my faction element on my Venin to give me an extra 25% bonus damage. And then I'm using Wyvern Strikes, which is a multi-hitting dragon element skill for anything which is immune to earth. At tier 10, notably that's the Fallen Gaia. And likewise, if you're a different faction, the Fallen God of your faction is going to be immune to your whatever you put on your Venin. But really that 25% extra damage is super nice against Berserk enemies that we can find. Oh, there's a Berserk Hydra, Arisen Hydra that's just popped up. Let's see if we can take that down. A normal Tiamat. Okay, in that case we didn't kill it, so we should have used Swordplay 3. And what I'm going to do is, let's see how much damage we can do to this Berserk Arisen Hydra. Okay, helps if we hit it. We probably could have gone Gunner first up, and if you're Lightning faction, we would have got double damage on there. So really, if you're Lightning faction, you can do 2 hits to a Berserk Arisen Hydra and you're probably going to take it down with 5k attack. We're just going to come back to that. Arisen Hydras are not that juicy anyway. Easiest thing about being Realmshifter and world farming is if you die, you just use a small mana potion, and that gets us back to 1 HP so we can get going again. Straight into Tri-Cut. So really, I think the Berserk Arisen Hydra is literally going to be the only mob in the game that we can't one-hit. Obviously, if you come across a Mammon in the world, then there's a good chance you're actually going to want to heal up a little bit beforehand and then buff up with Gunner, Mimic's Mischief, etc. Get your buffs up and then take him down. You'll notice that I don't have a pet equipped right now because we don't want pets to waste time in casting useless skills on enemies that are dead already. Typically with Realmshifter Swashbuckler, you'll see people using Mimic's Mischief pet and, sorry, Mighty Mimic pet. Here we go, Berserk, Mighty Yeti. Let's see if we can one-hit this guy. Almost one-hits him. So you can see with a lot of enemies we're taking 10 mil XP. Chimera is a really good one. 11 million XP. Berserk, Lioness Knight, Swordplay should take him down. And there you go, that's 16 million XP. If you don't have enough damage with the Arisen Monster Tombs, you can just swap in Band of Gods, and that's going to do loads of damage. So I'm a player who I really like world farming, especially with Realmshifter Swashbuckler. Should use Swordplay 3 there, but you get the idea. It's pretty solid at world farming, honestly. If you're like me and you like world farming, for me, hands down, Realm Swash is the best world farming build if you're just killing mobs. If you're going down the highway, taking down bosses, it can be good, but then you come across those bosses where you can't really one kill, and then you're into that range where if they don't miss you, then you're going to go down. So sitting on the couch, watching a film, taking down mobs for an hour, Realm Swash is your definite go-to. Okay, so while we're still Swashbuckler, we're of course going to dive into the arena. Hands down again, the best build in the game for just flying through the arena, trying to get some good fate arrows to make your Swash build even better. So checking out our arena PvP equipment, we're going with our highest attack weapon. Hopefully you have weapon proficiency bonus with it as well. We've got 2 Arisen Rings to lower our defense and maximize our attack. Fate arrows, I'm still hunting for some better quality fate arrows. And then again, in the armor slot, we're actually going for maximum usability as well as maximum attack. So in the boots, we've got as much mana as we can get. And as we're using quite a few Crimson Pinions in our chest and our helm slot, that's lowering our mana and increasing our attack. So we need a little bit of mana, a little bit of a buffer, so we can use a few skills in case we come up against people that don't die in one hit. So really in our armor slots, we're trying to find the balance between mana, attack, and any kind of status immunity as well. But status immunity comes into it more on the defensive war side. We're not really worried about today, we're just going to fly through the arena. Just to be clear, we're going to make a pure Swashbuckler video in the future, so we're not going to go into too much detail about Swash today. Alright, so let's just put 2 minutes on the clock and see how many names we can take. So noticeably we've got our mighty Mimic Pet. I've actually got the mightiest Mimic Pet with us. That's going to cast Mimic's Mischief turn 1 on 99.9% of all the fights. For some reason sometimes it doesn't cast it even though it has a 100% chance to cast that buff. And for the majority of people in the arena, we're just going to use Swordplay 3 turn 1 and depending on what class they are, we can either get them into last chance range or second chance range, or just completely one-shot them. Any Beowulf you come across, they are pure one-shot. They just don't have enough HP. The other 3 classes, Heretic, Gilgamesh, and Deity, quite often you'll find them going into last chance. So we got stunned here, which is a bit annoying because we don't have any status immunity gear on, and that's gonna slow us down a little bit. We don't have the new pet either. Skill wise, I like to go with Gunner in case we come across builds which we can't take down in one hit. Now against this Realmshifter, it's Cataphract Spec, so he's got a decent amount of ward. I know my past experience that I shouldn't have used Swordplay 3 first up there because I wouldn't have killed him in one go. If you put a Realmshifter into Resurgence range as a Swashbuckler, you're opening yourself up to getting destroyed in turn 2 or so. But luckily we got the Mimic's Mischief double attack up from our pet, and in turn 2 we could take him down. So to be honest, to fly through the arena, it's pretty decent Orn rewards at tier 10. Experience isn't ideal, but really as Realm Swash, the best item in the arena is pretty much a Realm Swash item. It's the Fate Arrows, which increases our attack even more as an offhand. So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy going through the arena as Realm Swash, because we're trying to find better Fate Arrows to make our attack even higher. I think approximately right now I'm rocking around 9,000 attack, maybe just a little bit less. We can check the status screen later. Now coming up across Gilgameshes that have Chimeras out is a real nice thing for us, because if they get Berserk, that's gonna more than likely take them down through second chance on turn 2. But as you see, we're just flying through here, and we've not really come across anyone with maximum large amounts of ward. It would be nice to find one person with high ward. Another skill I like to use is X slash, because it has a very high proc rate on a bleed, which puts the dot on the people that have second chance. And the way that dots currently work in the game is on the defensive AI, the dot actually procs before any skills go off. It's the opposite way for if you're attacking. So if you put a dot on someone with second chance and they use a skill that turn, then they're going to die. If they go into something like Divine Bastion, which is a multi-turn skill, then actually you're opening yourself up to losing the fight because they are not going to go down to the dot. So Realm Swash is really fun going through the arena. We're almost going twice as long as I said I would, but when you're taking people down in one hit, it's yeah, you just want to keep going, and you want to find that higher quality Fey arrows. That's the goal. We're also trying to find, I'll keep going until I find a really high ward enemy. Alright, it took me just over 5 minutes to find someone who should be decently tanky. We've got 100k ward, we've got Prak here with a greater yokai, so we're not wearing status immunity gear, remember, so this might put us into danger. But let's see how we got on. We're going to go with Gunner first up. We're hopefully going to get the double attack up from our pet. So we use Golden Fortitude, so right now he's got the maximum defense we can go against. Let's see what we can manage with Swordplay 3. We take down most of his ward, he uses barrier, and we're just going to go into X slash, hopefully take him down straight away. And thanks Prak, we got some Orns, but nothing decent. We're going to try and find one more fight with high ward. Alright, finally, 10 minutes later we found someone with a decent amount of ward. Here we go. Carl the Stat Lord, 130k ward. We're going to use Gunner turn 1 and see if we can take him down in one hit. So he used Golden Fortitude and he's got Miracle up from the pet. That's basically the max defense you can have turn 1. Let's use Swordplay. We miss. Is this a Gilgamesh? Yeah, a Gilgamesh with really high dexterity. And this is, okay, now he's got, this is an Inquisitor. Very nice. Blessed Shield. You don't see this very often. So let's give it a go with Realm Strikes. Let's see if we can get a crit in. And now we see not a lot of attack. So this guy has a lot of defense, but eventually when the double temp defense goes down, we can take them down. So actually I should have used Sortie in that scenario when they've got high defensive buffs. Don't use a multi-turn hit, that's what Sortie's there for. I didn't use it. So in the end, take down some fairly tanky enemies without too much difficulty. Alright, so that's Realm Swash, amazing at world farming and flying through the arena. We will be going into much more detail in a standalone Swashbuckler video, so stay tuned for that. So we're going to use the Charmer spec now for dungeons and raiding. To be honest, using Warrior's Pavane as Charmer going through the arena isn't too bad either. You can definitely do it. For the majority of people in the arena, they're just going to fall over with Warrior's Pavane as Realmshifter. For taking down people like Carl the Stat Lord, you're going to need a little bit of extra attack to take them down fast. So Swashbuckler is probably the best still at going through the arena, but Charmer still definitely doable. Okay, we're going to go Charmer spec to do hard mode boss dungeons now. Looking at the gear, fairly similar to our world setup with regards to our weapon and of course the Arisen Monster Tomes. But with Charmer we can be much safer than Swash. We can take out ward gear, high defensive gear, so we're going with poly boots, poly armor and Old Northern Crown. We get a fantastic amount of mana from the Old Northern Crown, which is really useful. Charmer also gives us 30% extra base mana, which is super nice. If we don't have enough mana with Arisen Monster Tomes, we can drop it down, we can take out Band of Gods. Very flexible in what gear we can take. And we of course have Arisen Shield to stop us getting cursed from Mimic's Mischief. Just a quick FYI on my Venom, I've currently got Assassin's Jewels in there because I was doing endless dungeons way back when I was pushing for 250. So up until now I usually had Jewels of Growth in there just for the extra 5% experience gain. We'll come on to Endless with Realmshifter Charmer in another video. It's absolutely fantastic for flying through Endless, super fast as well, so that's another video coming, just stay tuned for that. Hard mode dungeon, let's fire through and see what we're going to do. We've got the Orichalcum Golem pet, so we're going to hide behind ward, and that's the worst enemy we could have had turn 1, because if we get petrified from this guy, it's a big issue. So I'm just going to take this down. I wouldn't normally do this, but you've got to be flexible depending on what enemy shows up. And okay, that's perfect. So now we're going to go straight into Divine Bastion 2. That's going to put us at 100% ward absorption, and then hopefully our Orichalcum Golem will actually give us infinite ward turns effectively, so we don't need to worry about using ward skills again. Then we're going to buff up our attack. I've not got any defensive skills with me. I'm hoping that I've got enough ward and that Warrior's Pavane is going to be dealing enough damage. So we're buffed up, our defenses are down. Slightly risky because we don't have as much health as something like Gilgamesh. But to be honest, from this point, what I like to do is use Lunge to activate Recharge, and that's going to keep our mana topped up. It's going to be a real balance with Realmshifter as balancing our mana. That's what I really like about it. It's quite active in terms of it can do things really well, but you just got to watch your mana more so than other classes. And we use Double Edge to get down into Resurgence range. We've got to watch our ward turns as well. We can see we're down to 3 turns of ward, which isn't ideal. If that gets too low, I start using Sortie, and that's what Sortie is there for. We get 1 turn of ward. It has quite a low crit chance, unfortunately, but you know, it does a good job. We've also got Fortify 3 here, which I'm actually going to use just to give us a little bit of extra buffer on ward turns, and then as long as Sortie crits every now and then, it will keep our mana topped up. and it's going to one-shot everything as well. Normally we use Warrior's Pavane, which is the whole point of going Charmer, but I just like to keep the war turns high, at least until we've got enough war turns that we know we're going to complete the dungeon without running out of war turns, because yeah, the goal is to complete the dungeon as successfully as possible, and managing your mana is part of that. Alright, I'll just show you quickly Warrior's Pavane. We've got in here 60 mana, and we're going to take Arisen Boss almost down to 0 health basically, and we used, so now I've got roughly 10 turns left. I'm not in Resurgence range, but we can see Warrior's Pavane does a lot of damage. We're going to count on Orichalcum Golem to give us a little bit of war turns, hopefully to take us through to the end. So I'm not even in Resurgence range, and Warrior's Pavane is almost one-shotting all of these T10 bosses. If you play it right, obviously if you're using items and you're not doing a hard mode dungeon, you've got much better control over your mana. You can get down into Resurgence range and just use mana potions. Doing hard mode, it obviously a bit more active in terms of controlling that mana, but with Orichalcum Golem doing a decent job of keeping our ward turns topped up, we can then use Warrior's Pavane. And how many turns? So we've got 4 floors left, so we can one-shot everybody and we should be fine with Warrior's Pavane. If we get an Arisen Mammon, we're in a bit of trouble, but let's see what we get. Worst case scenario, we just use Lunge and try and keep our health topped up. But there we go. Hard mode boss dungeon done fairly easily. And the thing to do is to see how you get on with your mana. Stick Jewels of the Deep, really important jewels for Realmshifter. Using your Jewels of the Deep in your right armor slots, in Apollyon armor, in Old Northern Crown, it's really useful. You got to find that balance. Or indeed, you can swap out the Arisen Monster Tomb for a Band of Gods, and that will immediately give you roughly 300, almost 400 mana straight off the bat. So with that much mana, you're pretty much laughing. I'm using Orichalcum Golem because you can get it any time of the year. You can also use the Feyeti pet. It's absolutely fantastic with Charmer as well. And as I said before, Realmshifter Charmer is really good at flying through endless dungeons for maximum XP. We're going to do another video on that for sure. I think you guys really want to see something like that for maximum XP gains at tier 10. So stay tuned for that. Now let's check out some raiding. Okay, so for raiding Morrigan, let's check out our equipment. And we're going to go with mixture of ward and status immunities, because Briny Pendant and Ring of Anwin are really important, because we don't have Steadfast as Realmshifter, and Morrigan is very often going to cause Blight, Freeze and Paralysis, and we don't want to miss turns due to all that nonsense. Then we're going with very defensive ward gear. Apollyon gear, Old Northern Crown as well, stops our attack from going down. We get a nice amount of mana as well, and HP from Old Northern Crown. With decent poly gear, very doable to go far. Very important piece of gear is our Mighty Griffin Shield. We get that dragon resistance. Honestly feels like Morrigan, almost up to 50% of her attacks are dragon based, who uses Lucis Naturae very often. And then finally our weapon, because we're a Charmer, I'm using this Fey Crow Song. We get the weapon proficiency bonus as instruments with Charmer. And I've got mostly Assassin Jewels in there, a little bit of ward as well from, I think, Mammon Teardrops or Arisen Mammon Teardrops. And I've also, most importantly, put my faction affinity on there, so I've got the extra 25% faction bonus. If you don't have a dedicated raiding weapon, make sure you take your affinity spell that you get from the Arcanate class. That is 25% extra damage. That's definitely not to be missed. So let's fire in, and we're going to Word of War tonight just to make sure we don't die turn 1. And then from then on, I like to use Bear's Might straight away and use Golem's Fortitude as well, and then that allows us to take some hits while buffing up, and hopefully our Orichalcum Golem is gonna take, and hopefully Orichalcum Golem gets our elemental resistances up and running super fast. So we've got 3 out of the main 4, and for me that's pretty much perfect. I'm now gonna go into Divine Bastion, get that 100% ward absorption. That allows us to get down into maximum resurgence power, and then from there we use an Ambrosia. That's going to get rid of all our defensive and resistance downs, and then after that we use our attack tonic to get all our rest of our buffs up. Going to use Gunner as well. If you're just entering tier 10, Gunner It might not be available, or also it might be very dangerous for you to use. You might not have enough defense or ward to outlast the damage that Morrigan puts through. But basically, we're just going to double edge all the way down into resurgence range, and then we're going to start using Warrior's Pavane. For longer fights, Charmer is really exceptional, especially with Realmshifter. And you can see on this fight, I think our raid limit is currently 13% for Morrigan. Charmer can go way further than that, and very fast as well. So the downside, if you compare it to Gilgamesh, Gilgamesh can get up and running super fast, especially with Cataphract. Charmer, Realmshifter takes a little bit longer to get into maximum resurgence range, but once we've done that, it's super fast. So the other thing to watch out for is make sure you know how much damage your double edge does to you. You don't want to be over double edging yourself and killing yourself. Normally, as long as you don't have HP pool ending in 0, then you can use double edge 10 times and you're going to get roughly in single figures or around like 10 HP. So just checking, we've got 23 ward turns and we've already done 800,000 damage. I like to use Deific Channel at least once per fight just to see how much damage we can do, how many turns it can last, because you'll see now, once that's up, we can go into Warrior's Pavane and we can tick for over 100k with Deific Channel up, and that's 4 hits, so that's almost up to 400,000 damage per turn. But because Warrior's Pavane is only 60 mana, the efficiency is a bit crazy. You can get a bit enticed in there. I probably should have used Divine Bastion straight off the bat. If it gets dodgy like this, you can use Transference 2. It has the same ward regen as Transference 3, and that just gets us a little bit into safety, and then we can use Divine Bastion to regen our ward all the way up to 100%. We could probably use single up for defense and resistance as well, just to be a little bit more safer. And obviously, if you've got an Arisen Surtur's Cuirass, you're going to have a bit more ward than this. I'm just showing that you can do this still with polygear and stuff you can get throughout all of the year. And then let's just go again, Warrior's Pavane. If Deific Channel lasts like anything like 5 turns, then you're going to realize you've done 1.5–2 million damage in literally 10 seconds. It's super fun. This is my number 1 spec, and this is my number 1 class and build for taking down world raid bosses as well. And there we go, that's us reach our damage limit, 3 million damage. And we were just about to start off getting going really. So yeah, as I said, in comparison to Gilgamesh, takes a bit longer to buff up at the beginning and to get lower into resurgence range. But once you've buffed up, you can go super fast for longer. So definitely, if your kingdom has slightly higher damage limits, Realmshifter Charmer super nice for going, 5–6 million damage into the Morrigan really easily. Also amazing for world raid bosses as well. So there we go, Realmshifter, really flexible class at tier 10. We didn't showcase any Cataphract play. It's definitely absolutely fine at tier 10. A little bit more survivability for a little bit less damage. But you can see with Charmer, as long as you've got enough ward, that Warrior's Pavane is just absolutely bonkers, ticking for 100k on Morrigan with Deific Channel up. It's just absolutely insane. Also bear in mind that I haven't used any special event gear for this showcase today, but if you've got something like a Arisen Surtur's Cuirass, which you can use on any class, obviously that's going to make you much safer. Going to have a lot more ward than just using polygear. The other big one is the Fey Yeti Pet. That works really well with Realmshifter Charmer for dungeons and for raiding as well. So overall, Realmshifter, really solid class. I hope you enjoyed this showcase. Let me know if you want to see anything else regarding Realmshifter in the comments below. I'm Shabash, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Ciao.